Life on Texas death row is a reality few people ever see, yet raises important questions about justice, punishment, and human dignity. Deep in Livingston, Texas, the Allan B. Polunsky Unit houses every male inmate sentenced to death in the state. Behind its walls, time moves slowly, routines are rigid, and isolation defines daily life. Inmates on death row spend approximately 22 to 24 hours a day alone in small cells. These cells are designed for security, not comfort, concrete beds, limited personal items, and constant surveillance. Human interaction is rare and highly controlled. Meals are passed through slots, and recreation often takes place alone in fenced enclosures. The psychological impact of this isolation is profound. Years, sometimes decades, pass as inmates wait for appeals to move through the legal system. This prolonged uncertainty can lead to severe mental health struggles, including depression, anxiety, and emotional numbness. For many, the punishment extends far beyond the sentence itself. Despite these harsh conditions, some inmates attempt to find meaning through reading, writing, faith, or correspondence with the outside world. Letters from family members, lawyers, or pen pals become lifelines. These small connections remind them they are still human in a system built to strip away identity. The Polunsky Unit also represents the larger debate around the death penalty in Texas. Supporters argue it delivers justice for the most serious crimes, while critics question its morality, effectiveness, and the risk of wrongful convictions. Life on death row forces society to confront whether punishment should focus solely on retribution or also consider rehabilitation and humanity. Ultimately, the Allan B. Polunsky Unit is more than a prison. It is a reflection of the choices society makes about crime, punishment, and compassion. Understanding life on Texas death row does not require sympathy for crimes committed, but does require an honest look at what justice truly means. The Allan B. Polunsky Unit serves as the central and exclusive facility for housing all male inmates sentenced to death in the state of Texas. Located in Livingston, Polk County, this maximum security prison operates under the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and plays a unique role within the state's correctional system. Unlike other prisons that hold inmates with varying sentences, the Polunsky Unit is specifically structured to manage individuals who have received the most severe punishment under Texas law. Every male offender who receives a death sentence is transferred to this facility, regardless of where the crime occurred in the state. This makes the prison a focal point of Texas's capital punishment system, concentrating hundreds of inmates under one roof who are all awaiting execution or the outcome of lengthy legal appeals. The unit's design, staffing, security protocols, and daily operations are all shaped by the fact that it houses death row prisoners exclusively, creating an environment that is fundamentally different from general population prisons in terms of control, surveillance, and restriction. Inmates on Texas death row at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit spend the vast majority of their lives in solitary confinement, typically ranging from 22 to 24 hours each day inside a single cell. These cells are small, enclosed spaces constructed from concrete and steel, designed to minimize movement and interaction rather than provide any sense of normal living. Daily routines are highly predictable and strictly regulated, with inmates leaving their cells only for brief periods, such as scheduled recreation, medical visits, or legal appointments. Even during recreation time, inmates are usually kept alone in small, fenced exercise areas, preventing contact with others. Meals are delivered directly to the cell through narrow slots in the door, eliminating the need for communal dining or conversation. This level of isolation is intended to maintain security and control, but it also creates an environment where silence, confinement, and repetition dominate daily existence. Days, weeks, and years pass with little variation, reinforcing a sense of separation from the outside world and from other human beings, while the physical boundaries of the cell become the primary and often only environment an inmate experiences. The cells on death row at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit are built with a primary focus on security, control, and durability rather than comfort or rehabilitation. Each cell is constructed almost entirely of concrete and metal, creating a cold and unwelcoming atmosphere that offers little physical or emotional relief. Furnishings are minimal and fixed in place, often including a concrete or metal bed, a thin mattress, a small sink, and a toilet, all within a confined space. Personal belongings are extremely limited, with inmates allowed only a small number of approved items such as letters, legal papers, or religious texts. Lighting is constant and monitored, and surveillance cameras are used to observe inmates at all times, reducing any sense of privacy. Windows, if present, are narrow and placed high, allowing minimal natural light and little view of the outside world. Every aspect of the cell's design serves to reduce risk and maintain strict oversight, reinforcing the reality that these spaces are meant to confine and control rather than support mental or physical well-being. Human contact for inmates on death row at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit is extremely limited and carefully controlled by strict institutional rules. Most interactions occur through barriers such as cell doors, glass partitions, or restraints, reducing direct physical presence to an absolute minimum. Conversations with correctional officers are usually brief and task-focused, centered on security procedures rather than personal engagement. Visits from family members, attorneys, or spiritual advisors are rare and often conducted through thick glass or monitored phone systems, preventing physical contact and spontaneous communication. Group activities, educational programs, and social gatherings common in general population prisons are not permitted on death row, leaving inmates without opportunities to form relationships with others in similar circumstances. Even medical and mental health appointments are conducted under heavy supervision, with restraints frequently used. This constant regulation of interaction reinforces isolation and separation, making meaningful human connection difficult to sustain and turning even the simplest social exchanges into highly restricted and formal experiences. Inmates on Texas death row often remain at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit for many years, and in some cases several decades, due to the lengthy and complex legal appeal process associated with capital punishment cases. After a death sentence is handed down, multiple levels of automatic appeals begin, moving through state and federal courts in an effort to review the conviction and sentencing. These legal proceedings progress slowly, often taking years between hearings, filings, and rulings. During this time, inmates live in a state of prolonged uncertainty, never knowing if their sentence will be overturned, reduced, or eventually carried out. Execution dates may be scheduled and then delayed or canceled as new appeals are filed, adding to the emotional strain. The passage of time on death row becomes a defining part of the punishment itself, as inmates grow older within the same confined environment while legal decisions remain unresolved. This extended waiting period places an intense psychological burden on inmates, as hope and fear coexist over long stretches of time without resolution. The prolonged isolation and confinement experienced by inmates on death row at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit often result in severe psychological and emotional harm over time. Spending years in near total solitude, with minimal stimulation and limited human interaction, can deeply affect an individual's mental health. Many inmates develop symptoms such as chronic depression, anxiety, insomnia, paranoia, and difficulty concentrating. The repetitive nature of daily life, combined with constant surveillance and lack of control, can create feelings of helplessness and emotional exhaustion. Over time, some inmates experience emotional numbness or detachment as a coping mechanism, while others struggle with intense mood swings and intrusive thoughts. The stress of awaiting execution or legal decisions further intensifies these mental health challenges, as inmates live under the constant awareness of their sentence. Even basic cognitive and social skills can deteriorate when meaningful interaction is absent for long periods, making isolation itself a form of ongoing psychological punishment that extends far beyond physical confinement. Despite the extreme restrictions and isolation of death row at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit, some inmates attempt to preserve their mental stability and sense of identity through small but meaningful personal activities. Reading books, studying religious texts, writing letters, or keeping journals become important ways to pass time and maintain focus. For many inmates, correspondence with family members, legal representatives, or pen pals from outside the prison provides a rare sense of connection to the world beyond the cell walls. These letters often serve as emotional anchors, offering reassurance, understanding, or simply a reminder that they are not entirely forgotten. Faith and spirituality also play a significant role for some, providing comfort and a framework for coping with uncertainty and guilt. Creative outlets, such as drawing or writing poetry, allow inmates to express thoughts and emotions that cannot be spoken aloud. These small routines and connections help inmates create a fragile sense of purpose and continuity in an environment designed to limit individuality and personal expression. The existence and operation of the Allan B. Polunsky Unit place it at the center of the ongoing debate surrounding the death penalty in Texas. As one of the states with the highest number of executions in the United States, Texas frequently draws national and international attention for its use of capital punishment. Supporters argue that the death penalty serves as a necessary response to the most serious crimes and provides justice for victims and their families. Critics, however, point to the harsh conditions on death row, the high financial cost of capital cases, and the risk of wrongful convictions as serious concerns. The long periods inmates spend awaiting execution raise questions about whether extended isolation constitutes cruel or unusual punishment. Legal scholars, human rights organizations, and policymakers often reference conditions at the Polunsky Unit when discussing reform or abolition. This prison has become a powerful symbol in broader conversations about fairness, morality, and the role of punishment within the criminal justice system. Life on death row at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit forces society to confront profound ethical and moral questions about justice, punishment, and human dignity. The extreme isolation, restrictive conditions, and psychological toll experienced by inmates highlight the tension between retribution and humanity in the administration of capital punishment. Observing life in this facility prompts reflection on what justice truly means, whether it is purely about punishing the guilty, or if it should also consider rehabilitation, the value of human life, and the ethical responsibilities of the state. The prison environment, where inmates live in constant confinement and uncertainty, challenges assumptions about the effectiveness and morality of the death penalty. It raises questions about how society measures punishment, the long-term effects of solitary confinement, and the balance between public safety and human rights. The Polunsky Unit, in this way, serves as a lens through which broader societal attitudes toward crime, accountability, and compassion are both reflected and scrutinized. In the end, life on Texas death row at the Allan B. Polunsky Unit is not just a story about crime and punishment. It is a story that challenges us to examine the values we uphold as a society. It asks us to consider the balance between justice and humanity, the consequences of prolonged isolation, and the ethical implications of capital punishment. By understanding the realities behind the walls of this prison, we gain a clearer perspective on the human cost of the death penalty and are reminded that even within a system designed to punish, the question of compassion and dignity remains ever relevant.